Alrighty then, greetings everyone. Welcome to another Brony Debates Live. I hope you're all doing well out there tonight. Let's get a good start to the weekend. Today, we're going to be talking about the Season 10 comics of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And in order to do that, well, first of all, I should say that this topic was suggested by our friend, new to the stream, but and the Patreon for a little bit here. Mr. Angel of Speed, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing quite well. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, thanks for suggesting the topic. Now these are the comics. So in order to talk about the comics, I had to get some comic nerds into here as well. So we've got joining us today, Pony Cordero. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, what's up, buddy? I'm doing pretty good.
Nice. So, we also have DJ Skywalker as per usual, who's kept up with the comics as they were coming out. How are you doing today, DJ?
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Ready to talk about comics?
Good. And we've also got Master Code joining us on the stream again. It's been a little bit since we've had him on, but we're always glad to have him on. How are you doing today, Master Code?
Everyone, this is Master Code, your super awesome ace analyst and everyone's favorite Brony reviewer.
Yeah, so you have been doing a really good job of keeping up with the comics as they were coming out with your own videos, and they are pretty good. So if you're out there listening and you haven't checked out Master Code's videos, please do so. Anyway, Angel, what made you want to pick this topic for tonight?
Quite simple, really, just to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions.
Okay, well, in order for us to do that, let's first talk about your thoughts and opinions. So, we're talking about Season 10 here, the last 13 issues of the comic, I believe. So what did you enjoy about those?
Well, I do like the story of what's going on, the one-offs, the new settings and characters, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what did you not like?
It did get a little repetitive, the whole Trees of Harmony, and how it was the resolutions.
Okay. Now then, let's hear from someone else who read the comics. So DJ, you kept up with those comics pretty good. What did you think while you were reading them?
I was very intrigued by the main storyline. I wasn't sure what it was going to be going into it, but as soon as the first couple issues were over, I was really interested in seeing where it was going. However, I didn't care much for the filler, the short one-offs. They definitely kind of dragged it down. I feel like if they didn't have those, we could have had a much more fulfilling storyline.
Especially issue number 98.
We'll get there.
Yeah, so, all right, let's just continue going down the line here. Cordero, I don't think you were able to get to the whole thing, but what did you think of what you saw?
Well, I remember when the comics first came out, I used to keep up with every single comic, including buying every single one of them. When that became expensive, I stopped buying the comics, and I hadn't picked up the Season 10 comics yet until basically today. I started reading through them, so I'm on number 96 right now.
Okay, so you're about halfway there.
Yeah, I see what you mean by repetitive. They're kind of doing the same story over and over again, but that's sort of the point. They seem to be relying on the flavor of each. Like, they're telling a similar story, but they're relying on the flavor of each place that you're going to and the characters involved. And I like how they're setting up using the elements of harmony to expand the world, because with the series started as just Equestria, but now it's like, well, we're expanding it so that the world is actually a lot larger than just Equestria. So how do we do that? Well, the elements of harmony, when you first watch My Little Pony, you think of that as being like that's the elements to save the entire world, because the whole world is Equestria as far as the viewer is concerned. Well, now that the world is expanded, it's like, well, how does the elements of harmony work? And now the elements of harmony all have their own segments all around the world, which I really like doing that. They're expanding the world because it's necessary to. So the lore has to grow with it, and I think that's really exciting.
All right, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool too. I didn't necessarily like the way it ended. And just like we got Badre Bally in the chat here saying, from what I understand, season 10 was supposed to be essentially 2 years of comics, which got cut back drastically while they were being made because of the pandemic. I feel like that's an excuse, but I mean, that was everybody's excuse last year, and it was a real pain in the neck. But Master Code, what did you think about those comics?
So first off, the first arc at the Phoenician Coast, I thought was a solid arc, and I like the whole concept how there's like multiple elements of harmony and trees of harmony, and how they're not just the same way, like kindness, loyalty, and everything else. They're a little bit different, which I do like.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we got to explore a whole bunch of new areas. We got to see the Abyssinia home kingdom again. Those were in the comics too, but we didn't see as much. Then we got to go to the bear. We got to go to Burb Kingdom. We got to see more of the Diamond Dogs. But as far as the first arc, the Phoenician Coast was solid. I liked all the supporting characters. Plus, we finally got a story really centered around a conflict that centered around Zakora, which I thoroughly enjoyed. The comedy and the characters between as they're going on their journey was great. Even the serious dialogue I thought was really good. And where as far as the one-offs goes, I did like a couple of them. Let's see, going down the list. Like the cheese sandwich and Pinkie Pie one. It was simple, basic, and cute, but it was fun. You all know my feelings on Scooter's parents. You can go ahead and watch that video. Suffice it to say, I hated that one. What else was there? Oh yeah, then there was the marble and the marble pie one. Again, that one was a short but very cute one. Let's see. Then it went back to like the regular arcs and whatnot. So the issue is not the fact that there's multiple elements of harmony, multiple trees of harmony. It's the fact that we didn't get much time to spend with the characters. Whereas if you go back in the first arc, not only did we get to develop each of the individual characters, all of Zakora's friends that we got to learn from, but we got to see them actually display their individual elements. Then the next arc, I think, was the Abyssinian arc, where they go to the Cat Kingdom, and yeah, we get this new cast of characters, but we know that there are the new 6 Bears of Elements, the Bears of the Elements here in this area, not because of what they display, because we barely ever see that, but it's because we know what the pattern is. And the same thing with the Parrot Kingdom. Also with the 2021 annual, which I thought was probably the biggest, I don't want to say waste, but I'm trying to think of a better way to say it. Because at least with the Abyssinian arc, it at least was like loyalty and all the other various elements and whatnot. With the 2021 annual and the Diamond Dogs, it was just the pictures of their faces. It's like it completely undermines the whole purpose of the elements. They're supposed to those who exude a certain trait that's really good and powerful, where it's like, oh, here's my picture, this means I'm the element. And as far as the Knights of Harmony goes, again, it started out really good, and then it just falls apart in pretty much the last issue. I mean, the first issue we learned about them was in the Parrot one. That was issue number 100. There was it was a very heavy exposition dump, which there were some questionable elements. I was like, okay, I can live with that. And then in 101, that's when we finally get to see them, and I do like their designs. Each of them were all unique. There was a dragon, hippogriff, they had sharktopus and whatnot. But I did like their overall approach in the beginning. And then the last issue, 102, by the way, spoilers. The last issue, like, one of my first main complaints was Danu. His personality completely changed. Like, in 101, he was just really calm and collected guy. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna steal those, I'm gonna get those elements from you, I'm gonna kill you. well, you know what? I have all the power, so I can take all my time. In 102, he's like, I'm gonna destroy you, and he's always angry and snarling. And the final climax just was, it was short. And then it just kind of peters out with the spoiler of Chrysalis breaking from her stone prison. So, yeah, it started out good, but then it just falls apart near the end.
Well, I can agree with some of that, certainly. Although it seemed to me like he was losing his temper because he was losing. Now, what I don't understand is how he was losing when he had so much power, because they showed him when he started out and the rest of them as being able to get through Twilight's shield, as being able to shake all of Canterlot, even without their full power, and before they, stole the magic from Star Swirl and stole the magic from Twilight and then gave it to their leader. So I don't that power scaling didn't make any sense to me. But as far as the shift in his character, though, that, as far as I could tell, was completely justified. DJ, since you've read this thoroughly, do you have anything to...
But first, if I can say just one last thing about kind of what you said. So
Sure.
So yeah, in 101, like I said, so the power scale. So one thing the comic did really good in the beginning was set up their powers, where there's the little water sprouts and whatnot to mildly annoy them, and then there was the mild earthquake, and then Danu just goes through and just causes an entire earthquake that pretty much decimates all the army. But then again, we are talking about Celestia's guard, so not the greatest thing. But point is, we saw all their power exuded so well in the first one in 101. I was like, all right, I'm liking this. You're building these guys as a legitimate threat. I'm liking this. Can't wait to see how this goes. And then they're completely clowned in the second one.
Yeah, that I didn't understand why they did that. So, DJ, what do you think about all this?
As much as I hate to admit it, the last issue is a really big cluttered mess where I could barely understand a lick of what was happening until the very end. It kind of felt like the climax kind of just stopped and they gave up, I guess. I don't know, I kind of lost track there at the end, but like I said, overall, I think I very much enjoyed the stories and the characters we got to meet. The first Tree of Harmony is definitely the major highlight, since we got such cool characters and the different mythical creatures that were nice to see. But I don't know. I feel like I feel like defending this series because I did very much enjoy the ideas in it, and while the execution wasn't perfect, I think it was just enough to get theories and ideas going inside fans' heads, which I know I've had issues with that in the past, but I think with what they had to work with, I think this was okay enough. No. Aside from the filler, which was the only good filler was the Pinky and Cheese double issue.
Mm-hmm.
All the other one-offs sucked.
Now let me say this really quick. I was not even I was majorly disappointed that we didn't get any cheese sandwich and Pinkie Pie confirmation, because we know that they ended up together and they had a kid at the end of Friendship is Magic there, but I would have loved to see them actually get together as a couple. I don't know, maybe there's just a part of me.
They did that.
Yeah, the part of me that you're glad they did what?
I'm glad they didn't fully get them together, and I'm glad to hear, with all these spoilers being dumped on me, I'm glad to hear that they didn't do it yet. That is exactly correct. That is exactly how you write good ships that keep people invested. Is you hold it off as long as absolutely possible.
Yeah,
until the audience is screaming for you to get on with it.
Okay,
the subtlety is what made the two-parter really good.
Yeah, and
it was so subtle, and I loved Master Code's video on it.
Okay, hang on a second here. Are you just saying that to be a contrarian, Cordero?
I am not. This is both how I personally write romance and shipping, and it's also what I value. I mean, look at any good romance story. This is how you do it. If the point of a story is for two characters to get together, and that's kind of a point of like their story. Once you do it, the story is over. You've ended it. So unless you have another story to tell after that, you want to hold that off as long as possible. That's a huge payoff, tension release moment. And once you do it, that's it. It's over, and you have to be careful. You may not have a story left after that.
Right, but they did the worst thing that they could do, which was wait too long and then never do it. So that only works as long as you eventually get there at some point in time.
That assumes there's going to be no more comics.
I think this is it.
Is
This
it?
is the end of the mainline series. We have another spin-off, and as far as I know, that's the end of the comics.
Yeah,
Oh,
Generations
that's
is
okay.
next after season 10.
The G1 crossover specials.
Yeah. And
Well.
is the Transformer 2 one still going? Or is that over?
I think that's
I'm
over.
not sure. They teased it at the end of Cybertron is Magic, so we don't know.
Is that part 2? Because I have the omnibus for part 2 on pre-order.
It's the end. It's the end of the second series when they go to Cybertron.
Okay.
Well, Angel, what do you think about everything that's been said so far?
I'm pretty much in agreement with what Master Code and DJ said.
Okay, what exactly did they say in house? So
I agree that it started out good with Zecora's homeland and then went downhill too. And they went to return to Counterlot. Then the Harmony just kind of got wrecked in the end.
now, what I noticed while I was doing my read through is that I got through the arcs progressively faster, definitely because they kept sort of repeating the formula. So they could have done what they probably could have done if they were going to repeat that closely to each other is summarize them in they could have done one of two things. One is to make them shorter, to just summarize and have all these arcs broken down into one or two comics or one or two issues, and then spread the final conflict out across several issues. Or they could have just continually released comics for another 2 years to really flesh out these characters and the stories and give each one its own unique twist. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, they're already condensing it to 1 to 2 issues per story arc.
Yeah, per arc, but we ended up getting the worst of both worlds in terms of the pacing. And then they ended up all being the same, so I was able to just skim through them progressively faster, one after the next, and not miss anything. So, like Cordero, you didn't get a chance to read the whole series, and we're sort of giving you some spoilers on the final conflict now. But if you read the Zebra arc, you read the next 3 arcs.
Yes.
Is basically what I'm getting at here. Now, I will say this: each group of elements.
I read the Zebra arc and the Diamond Dog arc.
Yeah, each
the ones I was looking at, I think the Diamond Dog arc comes later, but there was like an annual that was at the start of the ones I was going through. So I think and that had the Diamond Dog arc.
The Diamond Dog arc is the annual.
Yeah.
So
I forget
read
where
the
that
annual-
lies in the timeline.
As long as you read the annual before the episode, or I think episode 12, I think, you'll be fine.
now
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't.
I read it
100.
first. So
I-
I've seen Diamond Dog and Zecora, Zebra arc, and they are very similar. But like I said before, like they weren't relying on the plot developments to keep you interested. They were relying on the flavor, and based on those two, I liked the flavor of both. So even if I know, I'm in for another, look, it's the Elements of Harmony story. I'm looking forward to seeing the next flavor, which this is it's the movie people, the pirates and stuff, and they're going back to Catboy's homeland. I just started that one, and I'm
The
down with the
Abyssinians.
different flavors.
Oh,
So
the movie prequels.
the movie
The Abyssinians, the cats.
the Abyssinians. That's who they are. Yeah,
And
so
the
that
The
I
sad part
guess
is
my
that
point
one's
is-
kind of the weakest one.
Oh, hold on a second,
I
guys.
guess-
Hold on a
I think
second.
my point is, what's up?
Angel, what were you trying to say?
The parrot people are called Ornithians, since their country's called Ornithia.
That would make sense.
That's right.
All right, now, Cordero, what were you trying to say? What's your point?
I guess my point is maybe I'm just the opposite of Brawny and I'm really good at enjoying things. But I was just sort of okay, it's sort of a put all the pieces in place grand plot here. So I'm not going to be looking for a new and interesting twist around the corner. I'm going to be looking forward to enjoying the different flavor of the different friends groups as they come together, and I am enjoying that.
Indeed, and to me, a different flavor, I mean, requires some kind of extra twist. Now, there is something like that in the fact that across all of the different trees of harmony, for the most part, sometimes the names of the elements of harmony change, but some of them stay the same. And then what we end up finding out later on is that when we start learning about the Knights of Harmony, is that each of those trees of harmony, have different names themselves. So, like, one is the tree of love, and the other is the tree of, like, patriotism or something like that, and then the other is the tree of I'm not exaggerating. That the leader said that.
Yeah, it was. Oh, here it is. I'm actually looking at it right now. So,
The tree of natural.
love, family, history, purpose, patriotism. Those are the 5 bonds.
Yeah, the zebras
Freedom
are
tree.
history. Family is diamond dogs. Purpose is the cats. And love is the birds.
Now,
And patriotism is the original.
yeah, so when I've said this a couple of times on this show before, but I have seen many bronies try to write fan fictions of alternate elements of harmony and things like that, and every time they try to come up with new elements of harmony, as far as I can tell, they always end up falling under the same umbrella as loyalty, laughter, kindness, generosity,
Honesty.
Honesty, thank you. Yeah, they all end up falling under that umbrella. So
You honestly forgot.
yes, I did honestly forget, and that's the honest truth. So what did you guys
That's
think?
the moral of the story.
And that is the moral of the story. So what did you guys think about the new elements, the other, like, new elements of harmony, and how did they vary themselves up? Did they differentiate themselves enough to actually be considered separate virtues that don't fall under an umbrella? In short, how wrong am I?
I'm confused because the first 2 trees I've seen had the same 6. So which tree gets different?
The cats and the birds.
Oh, so they're gonna have different elements.
Yes.
Is one of them forgiveness or empathy?
Cats. Have a sitting in our-
No. I'll spell that for you.
The
No.
cats don't have a different one.
That's interesting.
It's the birds and patriotism.
So the original tree and the birds have different trees.
Slightly different elements.
Yeah, so
Yes.
they have slightly different elements, and then we find out that the trees
And-
themselves have different names.
Yes. And forgiveness is not one of them.
Well, trust is one of the ones for the Ornithians, along with hope, protection, and perseverance.
Yeah, but all of those
Interesting.
that you just listed, Angel, fall under, like, I could very easily justify them as falling under the purview of honesty and loyalty, respectively, depending on which one you name. Sometimes they even cross over. And the great... Go ahead.
Anytime I've ever thought about to make an attempt to add like a 7th element of harmony, I've always thought that it should be some kind of either empathy or forgiveness, because as you're saying, Brawny, like a lot of these other ones, you could put them under that umbrella. Empathy or forgiveness, I've always considered that pretty essential to friendship, while also not falling directly under another umbrella. It really is its own separate thing.
Okay, and we've had that too in the show. Angel, were you trying to say something?
Isn't empathy kind of like a variation of kindness?
You could, but that's why I lean towards forgiveness a lot.
Yeah,
Look,
kind of sort of.
Yeah, so drop the word empathy. That's why I lean towards like element of forgiveness or something like that, because it's an essential element to friendship, the ability to forgive, but it's not specifically laughter, kindness, loyalty, or any of the others. It's its own thing.
So could somebody do me the favor and pull up the list of the pillars?
The pillars.
Yeah, and what
That's
they
where I was gonna go with first.
yeah, and
because-
what they represented, because we're not just talking about a seventh element. We're talking about 5 other sets of 6. That
would be hard.
Yeah, and
Now you're getting specific.
And I think this is where the ponies tree is supposed to be different, because even though they currently understand them as similar, their original elements were under different names. Because honesty was originally strength, kindness was healing, laughter was hope, generosity was beauty, loyalty was bravery, and magic was sorcery.
now
Those two are kind of interchangeable, but
I get you. Forgiveness could fall under healing if healing is the OG element.
Now, here's the thing about that is, when I thought the concept of the elements of harmony couldn't get any better, as it were, season
7.
Season 7 came along and introduced the precursors, and yes, you do need healing in order to have kindness. You do need bravery in order to have honesty. Any Christian will tell you that.
Loyalty.
Yeah, or loyalty. You need all of these things in order, though you need those pillars in order to create the elements of harmony. You need to have those basic virtues before you can take the next step to become the elements of harmony. So I thought that was really good. But now, bring me, if you would be so kind, the list of the original, like the Knights of Harmony, and one of them was Pride, and another one was Equity, and another one.
Yes, we have loyalty, equity, pride, acceptance, magic, and faith.
Now it's funny that loyalty and magic are constant in all of them. So that's certainly something.
Actually, it's not.
It isn't?
The one the birds does not have loyalty or magic.
Let's see. The birds were
It does have generosity and kindness.
Protection, generosity, kindness, trust, hope, and perseverance.
Yeah, so you see what I'm saying here, Cordero? They have some in common, but then they have other ones too.
Yeah, it sounds like they just kind of slide into the emphasis. So, how many trees are there in total?
Like 5.
1, 2,
it's supposed to be
4,
well,
5.
The
5
knights were
used to be 6.
Well,
the knights were there were 5 in total, and then the knights thought there would be the 6th one, which was in Equestria, but they couldn't find it.
Okay, so in theory, that's 6 trees with 6 harmonies. So that's potentially 36 individual elements. If you wanted to, you could theoretically, because like part of the problem that we were talking about was, they kind of fall under each other's umbrellas or lean into each other. But if you're going to go so far to have 36 different ones, now you can kind of lean into some of them rhyme with each other, which would make sense that they would be, that they would be on different trees, that a lot of them would be similar, but also a little bit different. That's kind of a good way to do it, because normally if you're just like, I'm going to make a new element, well, that could be another element. Well, but there's 6 trees with their own 6 elements. So while, of course, some could be construed with others or fall under other umbrellas, it makes sense that they would rhyme with each other but not be exactly the same, which would give you an excuse to have them different but the same at the same time. I'm bad with words tonight. Does anybody understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand it. I'd like to add something to it, is that that certainly, I like that in concept, and I can't really find much wrong with it. Because that also plays into what the original elements of harmony were like, is that you needed all 5 to then get the 6th. It was the 5 elements that created the spark, which made the 6th. So that you need, and I give this in my, when I do Brony debates at conventions, I always end by showing that you need, loyalty in order to be honest. You need kindness in order to have generosity, and they all play. Yeah, they all play into each other equally to create magic. So with what you're saying, Cordero, that makes extra sense. Playing into that that theme. So, Master Code, what do you think about all the different elements?
So one, I do appreciate that there is some differentiation. As far as the elements themselves, I think they're actually fine. You know, the little alterations and whatnot. It just kind of goes back to the main weakness is the fact that we barely get to see any of the characters express those individual elements, like loyalty or whatnot. Like with the cats, there was like one who expressed stuff, who expressed one of the elements, or no, there was two who expressed their elements, and then that was it. So characterization was definitely the major issue. The elements of harmony and the multiple trees, that concept is great. It's just that the fact that they didn't either cut for time or they just didn't have the budget or whatever. Just the fact that they lost all that characterization that was possible, that's the main issue.
So what exactly would you have done differently that you think would have improved as it is?
Well, basically, kind of like what I
Drop
just said.
issue 93.
Basically, like I said, you go back to the Phrasian Coast arc, which is a solid great arc, where along the journey you got to see all the characters express their individual elements. Whereas, again, in all the other, with the Diamond Dogs, like the Abyssinians and the Ornithians, you didn't really get that as much except for like a small bit, like here, like the Ornithians not really until the end. So, you know, if there was only like one more issue where you can learn a little bit more about their backstory or them actually expressing their individual elements, you know, that could fix it. You know, I could be like, oh, okay, I know this guy is the element of honesty. I know this cat is the element of, you know, kindness and whatnot. Not just because of the pattern, but because they actually express their individual elements.
Interesting. Would anyone like to add or take away from anything he just said?
Honestly, I think that's where the big failing of this story is. Because the best part of it was the Zebra arc, which spanned 4 issues, 89, 90, 91, and 92. The cats had 2 issues, and the birds had 1 issue, and the dogs had the annual.
Which is also
It really feels like things got cut.
What were you saying, Angel?
Mm-hmm.
Or was that Master Code that was trying to say something?
I was trying to say something.
Go for it.
The annual and the 100th issue are double length, so they kind of count as 2 issues in one.
But that's still part of my point, is that they're half the length. If they had had enough time each, I think we could have seen this be the best part of the arc and would have gotten a lot more people into the comics.
Well, that just plays back into what I said a minute ago of if they all kept that same length but were still roughly the same story with no other twists or anything like that, that would have gotten really boring. Really, like, even as it was kind of getting a little bit boring for me. What's up, Cordero?
It depends. Because I do not watch My Little Pony for the really cool, interesting, intricate plot details. I interesting plot. I watch My Little Pony because I love the details. I love the interaction. I love the little things about it. Like, My Little Pony's strength has always been slice of life, and even when they're on a grand epic adventure, it's the fun little interactions together that makes My Little Pony fun. That's why I don't even care that I'm getting the same story over and over again. I can't wait to watch them interact with each other. Because one thing for me that I've always loved about My Little Pony is, or that's been interesting for me, is that I always can tend to agree when we're talking now, and I've talked before about the weaknesses of stuff, things that might be rushed, things that don't work, things that don't make sense. I always tend to intellectually agree with a lot of that stuff. But the powerful thing for me about My Little Pony is I could be like, yeah, I agree, that episode or that arc didn't make any sense. But I still enjoyed it as if it were one of the best. There's something about My Little Pony that hooks me in and makes me like every single little detail. And when a series has that, it can basically do no wrong from my perspective. So I can intellectually sit with you guys and be like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that was probably rushed. Yeah, that was probably cut out. Yeah, that could have been done better, and that could have been done better. It doesn't take anything away from my enjoyment of it, and that's rare for a series for me. So I'm basically at the point where like I don't care where it comes from. I just hope that we have more. So I basically am the anti-Brawny. I'm literally the anti-Brawny
What are you talking about? You and me are the same person.
in many ways.
Yeah, that is literally how I feel about this about the Friendship is Magic franchise. It's like
Yeah, it's a nice feeling, isn't it? That even when the thing you love is flawed, you like it so much that it just there's just something special about it.
Yes, definitely. So DJ, what would you change about the comics if you had the opportunity to make them better in your eyes? About season 10 specifically.
First up, drop issue 93 and 98. Add on to the cat story with one issue, and I'd say one extra issue on the birds just to flesh them out a little bit more. But otherwise, the bird issue was fairly fine because it wasn't. The element bearers aren't the main focus on that one, so I can give that one some leeway. But at least add on to the ending using 98's length, because 98 does nothing.
Wait, which one was 98?
The Celestia and Luna adventure.
Oh, right.
The Kraken.
Oh yeah, I really
Yeah.
didn't like that one. That one was
And 93 is the Scootaloo one, which I don't like because, well, I made that clear in Master comments. I actually like the parents, and I don't like that they keep being shown off as bad people.
Yeah, I don't hate any of the Wait, the parents were bad people. That episode was all fun. My problem with 93 or the Scootaloo parents one is that one, even for Slice of Life, that one literally had nothing to say. I was like, where's the conflict? There's no conflict in this.
But yeah, that one should definitely go to the cats, because I think the cats was on the verge of an amazing idea, but it didn't have the length to fully go into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I like about it is that it starts to show that each tree has varying effects on the culture. And I'm trying not to spoil the ending of the Cats one for Cordero, because I think he'll like it.
Well, I've already spoiled everything.
No,
so.
yeah, everything's.
I'm trying not to
that's all
spoil
out the window. I don't.
that issue, because it, in the grand scheme of things, it does nothing to the main plot line, but it's very interesting for headcanons going further.
Oh, is it really that worth it to not have that spoiled? Because I, in general, don't care about spoilers.
Yeah, DJ. Just a few weeks ago, we had a whole. Just a few weeks ago, we had a whole conversation on.
Well, he said he was enjoying it. I was trying not to take that away.
Okay, well,
I'm trying to be nice.
You can't.
Okay.
You're not capable of taking. My enjoyment
that's what I'm
me.
saying. He told us that a couple of weeks ago that spoilers don't affect his enjoyment, so you're good to let it fly.
Yeah, the veil is
Okay,
broken.
so
Like I said, I already revealed everything.
I like that how the trees
Did
affect
half of it
the
anyway.
culture. At the end of the cats get magic, which apparently had been locked away for thousands of years, probably.
Yeah, and they made a footnote. They made a footnote on one of the panels there that apparently Discord foreshadowed back in issue number 26 that the Abyssinians had magic, and then they didn't anymore.
Wow, my mind is blown. I couldn't have imagined anything like that happening. Now it's ruined.
But
When we talk on the spoiler episode, like I brought this up, I care way more about execution than just because I know plot elements or just because I know what's going to happen. I care way more about execution than anything else at this point, because like most people have seen just about every plot line that could realistically be told. We've seen so many stories that knowing how the story ends is nothing compared to how well did you tell that story, and that's that recaps that whole debate of my opinion on spoilers.
Yeah.
However, I don't remember what the tree did for the Zabrakan lands. Maybe someone could remind me on that, if something happened with that. Did it regrow the land?
It flourished the land.
Okay, so that one flourished the land. The cats got magic. The Diamond Dogs reunited their kingdom. So that was more of an emotional one. I don't think it did anything else. And the birds, their culture is based on it in the ruling class, I believe. And then we have the originals who basically made a cult around it. Well, the ponies basically forgot they existed for the past 1,000 years. I just find that interesting. How each tree has affected every culture in the land.
Now, Angel, I haven't heard from you in a little bit. What did you think about all this?
I think they're all right. I'm mostly Cordero and how I'm not gonna let the. Never mind. See.
Come on, man. Work with
Come
me
on.
here.
Mm.
Were you going to disagree with me? Because that's totally fine. You can think different things than me.
Now I agree with you. The execution was all right.
Angel, what would you change or try to improve about the story?
Huh. Yeah, I'd probably let there be more demonstrations of the let there be more demonstrations of the elements qualities from the characters and such.
All right.
Have them be a little longer. Well, except for the zebra one. That was perfect length.
All right, that works.
It's something else that I didn't like was and this is going on to issue 1 or 2, whereas we finally find the reason. You got like 2-3 comics of build up, and you finally find out that it was actually Discord during his original reign thousands of years ago. He manipulated all the other races and basically told them, "Hey, you should go attack the Knights of Harmony in their home of Canabula." And I didn't like that because 1, it didn't feel original. 2, it felt like one the comic was overbooked mess. But 2, I think if a better way to have taken that instead of just it's just Discord's fault or whatever, whatever. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to plant as many seeds, like literally, as trying to make as many connections as possible. But it's just like, do we really need to this connection again? Because it's barely like a footnote. Like it's only like 1 or 2 panels, and it's like war, and we disappear forever. A better way that I would have done it would be, if they interpreted their elements, basically like maybe the races themselves got so, like the cats or the diamond dogs, whatever, or all of them got corrupted somehow, or even if the knights got corrupted, they took their beliefs in a certain way, patriotism, where it's like, in order for us to make the world better, we should take over, and then we can rebuild it in our way. That way we're making the world much more perfect, because at least then it's something a little more plausible for that feels organic along with their mission, instead of just, it was just Discord.
Well, I didn't get that out of it, actually. What I got was, because the elements had betrayed them, that they had trouble trusting anyone with that kind of power, which in itself is a pretty decent message, actually, that and we tend to see that through real life history. When anything has too much power, it corrupts. So they're asking the question of, what do you do with that kind of threat?
And if they actually showed, like, the Diamond Dogs or all the races, actually becoming corrupt, then I could buy their mission of, because 1, they attacked their home world, and then they had to disappear for 1,000 years, and they never did. They actually never did it. I forgot about that.
We got a couple of pages to cover that, but
can someone remind me? Are the elements of patriotism we saw in the comic the original ones, or are they?
They were the knights.
Down? But are they the ones that met Discord?
No, the Discord manipulated the other races to attack the knights in their home world. Their home.
That was in the past, though. That's not current.
But are the current ones the same ones from 1,000 years ago?
Yeah.
Because I could have sworn there was a line saying that they are descendants.
Yeah, they are. There was a lot of lines like that, actually.
So I would get the implication that over the many centuries that their patriotism has turned into fanaticism because of the fear of discord.
Nationalism, even.
Yeah, and what I didn't like, another thing I didn't like is that, well, I wouldn't even say I didn't like it, but I would have liked to see Discord try to own up to it and try to apologize for being in and show that he's reformed. And I think a page or two would have been nice to show them, just saying, "Hey, I've reformed and I'm sorry for what I did before," and they just say, "No, we're gonna try to, we're gonna get you for your crimes." Which, another point of order here, how did they plan to do that? Like, I'm pretty sure I don't think they could take Discord in a fight.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was just kind of spur of the moment. They were like, okay, now we're going to... Oh, yeah, by the way, they outright claim they're going to kill the elements of harmony. They are going to literally kill the main six. And then in 102, Discord just happens to show up and like, Discord, get him! I don't know what we're going to... Just get him! And that's pretty much it. It was just spur of the moment.
To be fair, the elements of harmony have done some major damage to Discord before. Maybe they know about being able to turn someone to stone with it, and then they're just going to break the statue and pull a Storm King.
Yeah, but the guy Daniel, he literally says, "Well, we must destroy you." He outright claims he is going to kill them. He is. I was like, okay, wow, we certainly escalated violence in this one.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah. I don't know. Cordero, without having read it, what do you think?
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up is the idea of the elements getting I'm not sure if I followed everything correctly, but I mean, I don't need to follow everything. Excuse me, I don't need to follow everything correctly because I've yet to read it. It sounds like that's a pretty good twist. Like that twist that you wanted and that development. Ooh, they got corrupted, or these people hate the elements and have good reason to. Isn't that exactly what you were asking the comics to have in these samey stories?
Yes, but like I said, it came at the end. It came in the last. What I was talking about earlier was the 3 arcs there they
were same after another.
Yeah, they were one to introduce the other trees. The fact that there were other sets of elements of harmony around the world. That was what I was looking for.
It was too samey for you, but at least they gave you a nice something else at the end.
I suppose they did.
Climax.
Yeah, they did, and I enjoyed the concept. I felt it was a little bit rushed. So,
Probably.
Yeah, with that, I think we're at a good spot here to get into the audience participation segment. Now, if this is your
saw a good one.
Yeah, if this is your first time listening, we've been watching the chat the whole time we've been talking here. And we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to address some of the comments and questions you've had throughout the stream tonight. So, Cordero, since you said you saw a good one there, why don't you take it away?
Yes, by user. I don't know if their profile was deleted or something because their name is just user. And they don't have a profile pic. Forgiveness is a reactionary dependent action. The original elements are independent virtues and grounded in personality. Forgiveness is an action and not a character trait. Therefore can't be an element. That was an interesting way to put it. I never thought about that before, but that is a good point. That that in order to have forgiveness, that is a reaction to a stimulus that happened. I mean, but you could make the case that loyalty is a reaction to a stimulus because you need to have an already established relationship in order for loyalty to exist. Whereas like kindness and generosity and honesty, I mean, you could argue honesty is a reaction to a stimulus. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's an interesting point. But I don't think being something that is a reaction disqualifies something from being an element of harmony. To me, the main thing that could make something an element of harmony is it has to be an essential part of friendship. And forgiveness is inevitable because mistakes and messing up are inevitable. Therefore, forgiveness is essential. Therefore, forgiveness could be an element of harmony. And I am shocked that in a universe with theoretically 36 separate elements of harmony, that they didn't decide to make forgiveness one of them. I don't know.
DJ,
everyone knows forgiveness belongs in the human world.
That being Sunset, yeah. But other than that, what do you think, DJ?
I don't know. That's a little more philosophy than I had planned on at the moment.
You mean you
Have you
came?
been to these debates?
You came to a Brony debates. You've been a regular
I've
on
been
the
in the
show.
mindset of comics, thank you.
Yeah, they're not separate.
They can be.
Yeah, but they're not.
Separate but equal.
I can be, I can be skinny, okay, but I'm not. There's a,
Let's not get into fantasy here.
oh, shut up.
Oh, man.
DJ,
Second degree burns.
DJ, you really shouldn't be looking in the mirror when you're trying to diss me.
Yo.
I already know what I am to you.
Okay, Master Code. What do you think about about that? I don't think he's there.
He left. He said he'd be right back, and he muted. I guess you didn't hear him say he'd be right back. I don't know when he'll be back, but
Well, that's highly unfortunate timing. Gosh darn. Okay, so let me look at the rest of the chat here, and see
I
if
found a good one.
Let's hear it, Angel.
Golden Fox says, I avoided the comics for the same reason with everything IDW. I shouldn't have to read the comics to know the show better. The show needs to stand on its own, and it still does. It's one thing for bonus material. It's another to separate required material.
Well, aside from the movie prequels, I don't think anything in the comics has been required.
Well, even the prequels aren't required for the movie.
they're not. Yeah, I would say that the show proper. So if we're saying that nothing in the comics is the show proper does stand on its own. And up until the show ended, I would say that the show proper stood up on its own, and you didn't need a single comic to enjoy or get a lot out of the show. However, when the show ended, they made the conscious decision that season 10 or the continuation of the show proper would be in the comics. So me personally, I consider the season 10 comics the show proper, not pseudo-canon or extra. That is the show proper. And that's because the show ended. But again, even if you don't jump into season 10 or any of the comics at all, just season 1 through 9 of My Little Pony is its own self-contained thing with a beginning, middle, and an end. And it still stands on its own as its own thing, even if you never get into season 10. But if you do get into season 10, it is a very good continuation of what the show proper did. So I really think that they have their cake and eat it too. They did a good job of giving you a product that stands on its own. Because I do agree with Golden Fox. You should not have to dig into extra stuff to get something from one source. I do agree with that, but I think they did a good job where you could just watch the show if you want, and if you go into the comics, you get more.
Also, consider this, Golden Fox. More pony.
Exactly.
Exactly. More friendship. Well, specifically, more friendship is magic because the next generation is trash.
No, it's great. Can't wait for more.
Can't wait for more. To go into that further, a lot of, especially in the early days of the comics, it and the show were very contradictory at times. So honestly, at the time, the comics were just kind of their own separate thing and were not any required material for the show at all. If anything, it never really expanded on anything. It was just its own separate adventures. The only time it's really applied to the show was when Twilight got wings and those comics started having her have wings. And then now with season 10, which barely references anything prior to its beginning, because we had a major arc just before it started, and I don't remember there might have been like a small glimpse of a reference, but everything else it mainly just followed after the show. But
really it's
nice.
Also the season 2 comics are also in line with continuity. You have the extra pony races that were introduced. You have like Mod and Trixie and Discord and all of the relationships that were set up and established throughout 9 seasons are present in the season 10 comics. So even if they're not Family Guy style, hey, remember the time that even if they don't directly reference where the characters and continuity stands is from what the show set up. So just matching continuity alone in the season 10 comics makes it part of the show.
Yeah, and I don't even think there was a single deer in the season 10 comics, and they were a pretty decently sized political power in the earlier ports of the comic.
God, I wish they did more. Yeah, I want there to be more comics. I hope that they return to Gen 4, because wouldn't that be the first time that a previous gen kept going after the new gen took over? I don't see why you couldn't do that. Why you couldn't have Gen 5 and also continue to have Gen 4 comics? Like, what are the Generation Police going to come and arrest Hasbro for
No,
Gen
but
4 still existing?
I think IDW's been having some issues itself as a company, so that's probably one reason. Because I don't even think Generation 5 ones have been planned yet, or at least none have been announced.
They have
the only one we have is
at
Generation.
some point they gotta. Right. They gotta. At some point they gotta. So I mean, if you have to move away from IDW, do what you got to do. But I'm just thinking, in concept, obviously you're going to want Gen 5 comics, and why not continue Gen 4 comics?
At this point, I think we're just at a wait and see.
I agree. It's a wait and see, but I still hold out hope that there could be more comics in general.
Fingers crossed for season 11.
That would be nice.
Right.
Here's how we're gonna fix this. I volunteer Princess Heather Blossom's writing and drawing talents to take over the series of comics. I'm sure she would do a great job.
Yeah.
And not at all make it any kind of alicorn wish fulfillment crap.
Never.
You just hear her from the other room just yelling, "Stop signing me up for stuff."
Listen, I'm sure she would
Stop volunteering me.
I'm sure she would be fine with that money.
Ching ching.
You never said anything about her getting paid.
I mean, I thought that was just implied. I mean, I don't know how much the artists and writers over at IDW were making, but it was definitely enough
Probably
for them.
Not much.
Well, I don't know. Obviously, we would compare it to what she's making at her current job now, but I don't know.
Comics
I feel
is a weird industry.
it really is. It really is. Anyway, what else did we see in the chat? Oh, I saw something here. And we sort of touched on this a little bit, but another one from user was, I think having too many elements takes away from the message of the show as well. So we did talk about that a little bit earlier, but let's try to summarize what we thought here. Does having more elements take away from the theme of the elements of harmony? DJ, what do you think?
I think it's actually a surprisingly brilliant addition, because it brings into the aspect understanding the elements, how different people understand each element, and as such, it's going to mean different things to each person.
Mm-hmm. Cordero, what did you think?
Yeah, I understand that point of view. Because if you try to just do what fan fiction writers and what I myself have thought about doing, which is just shoveling in more elements of harmony, like, let's say forgiveness, because you're a fanboy and want to see one particular character have a really, really nice and special arc themselves, that, yeah, it could kind of water it down, like the whole thing. But I think the way that they did it doesn't do that, because having the separate trees of harmony with their own elements, now, because we said this earlier, now you can add more elements. And you're not watering it down. You're actually kind of expanding them, because they can rhyme with each other without being exactly the same, and they're related to each other. So you're not adding a whole nother element like, we've expanded the definition of friendship. No, we're just looking at the same 6 elements of friendship from a different perspective, which is why I agree. I like the way they did that in the comics, and I don't think that method waters it down, where maybe my method of putting just a literal 7th, 8th, and 9th in would water it down to this person's point.
I'll say this because I did kind of read them in a rush, and I haven't really had a chance to very thoroughly analyze them. But I definitely like the idea. As to whether or not I think it came out good, or they don't, or whether or not they contradict each other or just fall into the umbrellas of the original 6, like I was saying earlier, I can't say with 100% certainty at the moment, but I definitely still enjoyed these comics. I'm going to read through them again and get, some more, some clearer, more definitive thoughts, if that makes it. And Master Code is still muted. I would have loved to hear what he said about this. So let me just.
His mic is messed up.
Yeah,
Are you looking at the Brony Debates chat?
Yeah, I did. I am, and I am seeing that. That's it's unfortunate that happened. I don't know. I don't know what exactly happened there. He was sounding good as far as I can tell. I'm gonna check on him real quick.
Okay. Well,
Also, there was one thing that we didn't bring up that I really actually like about the additions of all these elements of harmony.
Tell me.
Is that each set has a different harmony in the leader position.
yeah, that was cool.
The leaders of the elements of history is Cactus Rose with generosity.
I see what
the
you're
Diamond
getting
Dogs is still magic.
and so is Zecora.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say Zecora is the leader.
Yeah, the mayor girl, the mayor Mirani, whatever it is, she's the leader.
Oh, is Mirani the wiki's not very helpful in finding these characters.
Yeah, I just read that comic. That's definitely the leader.
Okay, so Marini is Honesty, so she's the leader. So Honesty is in the lead. Who was it for the Diamond Dogs? Who's the head queen?
They kind of decided to be by committee because at the very end, the traditional the loyalty princess who was the queen for all of the Diamond Dogs. Remember, I just read these. She was like, yeah, 2 queens doesn't seem right. How about 6 queens? And they were all happy at that punchline, and which implied that they're gonna rule by committee of the royal family. Okay. So they actually literally said that they're not going to have a leader. They're a committee.
Okay. And for the cats, I would say Capper and Chumer are both leaders. So that's generosity and loyalty as the leaders in that group. And for the birds, there's a king and queen, so we have protection and generosity as the leaders there. And patriotism is led by loyalty, which is way too fitting.
It's kind of cool. It shows how you can use the same model or you can adapt. You know what I mean? It doesn't always have to have one leader. It doesn't have to be the same element leader. You could have a dual leadership, or you could have a full committee. I like how they didn't explicitly say that, but they just showed show don't tell in storytelling. They just showed that you can kind of adapt to whatever the vibe of your friend group is. So that was kind of cool.
And Paladin Pony T says, are any of you disappointed that we saw no other alicorns in season 10? Absolutely not. More than 2 is too many.
Disagree, but I'm okay with them not. Though the idea of there being an alicorn homeland, my fanfiction brain went wild.
In the journals, wasn't it?
Yeah, supposedly there was an alicorn homeland, and we never, and it was referenced in the journals, and then we never heard anything or saw anything about it ever again.
When I tried to write that a long time ago, I tried to write Alicorn Origins. I had it that they were so powerful that they ended up leaving Equestria into their own realm, and they existed in their own celestial realm. And they sent rulers back to Equestria to rule over the ponies because that was their responsibility in calling. I did try to cover this in one of my stories a long time ago, but it's one of those things where they're so alicorns would be so powerful they're kind of broken, so you have to really write around that. So I think they saw that landmine and dodged it, but it would be cool to see to try to deal with a alicorn home base.
Honestly, I would love to see a history of the alicorns, especially if they bring back the idea that they were going to have for the movie and have Celestia and Luna have a long lost brother. I think that would make for an interesting story arc. And also bring Celestia and Luna back into the forefront for a little bit, since they were pushed out of the entire arc.
That would be cool. And finally explain the difference between ascended alicorns and genetic alicorns, and if there is a difference and how that works. Aspiring fanfiction writers want to know.
Did people like me want to know?
Right.
Yeah.
You want to know so you can be raging at it.
Exactly, and that is part of the reason why I rage at it, is because I don't know, and I don't like bad storytelling, and when I don't know things, it's bad storytelling.
Well, once upon a time, there were fanfiction writers who considered themselves canon compliant in their stories, and then Flurry Heart was born, and all these canon compliant writers had to set their fanfictions on fire because they became alternate universe with a single line from Luna.
Yeah, I know, and that's a real problem, and that shouldn't happen. Okay, that's enough. That's enough rage out of me. Angel, do you see any more chat that you would like to tackle for tonight?
Let me see.
I see Master Code is unmuted and undeafened now, so maybe
There we go. Okay,
he's
so
back.
that works
Okay,
now.
so Angel, hold on for just a second, Master Code. What do you think about? Well, did you see anything in the chat that you wanted to tackle real quick before the end of the night?
No, not just a regular mic issue. Like, 2 of the O-rings on my shock mount just snapped, and I'm basically like had to like figure out a way to like keep them up. So that's why.
Oh,
so I wasn't
goodness.
paying attention to that.
I'm sorry.
So you're cradling your mic in your hand right now because your stand broke.
Well, I got rubber bands, so it'll do for now.
Mhm.
Hey. Duct tape.
So I didn't. So I haven't seen any of the chat.
Okay, so here, let me just ask you some rapid fire questions here. Golden Fox says, I avoided the IDW comics because you shouldn't have to have supplementary material required reading. What do you think about that?
Okay, so the IDW people, they said that this isn't canon. So, honestly, there's a lot of really good supplementary material in the MLP comics. Just for going off of it, like the CMC Discord Friends Forever was a very cute, emotional. In the same vein, the Luna and Discord one, which were both very good stories that expanded upon Discord's character, the reasons why he's eccentric and whatnot. So there's really good reason, even if it's not canon, it's still enjoyable. So yeah, I still recommend the comics to anyone. You're missing out.
Do you think having so many elements of harmony waters down the themes of the original elements of harmony?
I don't agree with that, just because every country and every culture is going to operate differently, so they're going to have different ideals and whatnot. So having, even if they are somewhat slightly similar, they're still going to operate a little bit differently. Like the cats and dogs, they operate a little bit differently, while the well, when we go to the Abyssinian arc in the season 10, we get to see they're kind of a militaristic society of how when the king's like as establishes dominance and order, whereas the dogs are a very open and friendly society. Same thing with the parrots. So it's fine with the elements of harmony as long as there's some differentiation in character and how they operate.
And okay, so Angel, did you see any more chat that you wanted to tackle before we called it for tonight?
Bedra Bali says, I feel the comics completely wasted the potential of that mysterious pony race who only appeared in the Student 6 miniseries and were never referenced after that. Speaking of the Student 6, the Knights of Harmony almost tried to commit child murder.
Yeah, so that was a freaking thing. But I haven't seen the Student 6 miniseries yet, so I gotta get on that.
I'd recommend checking that out. He's
you mean the Feats of Friendship?
Yeah,
Is that what you're talking about?
I
haven't had a chance to read that one yet.
It was okay. Got some good ideas and some wasted potential. Like the series. There's good comics and there's bad comics, and then there's some in the middle. This one, the Feats of Friendship, was okay to good. It was kind of like an overbooked mess. Was my problem with it.
Only had like 3 issues to get a story out, so
you can do.
I haven't had a chance to read it.
You can do a lot with 3 issues if you know what you're doing. But that's a big if, and sometimes even professionals don't know how to do that. So you run into problems.
Even a lot in one issue.
Right, and then you get other outside when it comes to like publishing stories as part of an industry. You get outside interference from fans and producers and your commissioners like Hasbro you come back with notes that they want you to change a whole bunch of stuff, and yeah, it's hard work. It certainly is. So I don't, I say a lot. I talk a lot of trash like, oh, you can do it if you know what you're doing, but I don't always, even though I know about these outside factors, I don't always take them into consideration. Alrighty then, so I think that's a good spot to wrap up for tonight. Master Code, could you give us some closing thoughts?
There's really not much more than what can already be said. Like I said, for season 10 as a whole, it's like I said, it starts out great, had some interesting ideas. The execution was not fully realized, and whether it be budget issues or they just decided to cut the series entirely, it severely hindered the full potential of season 10. So it started out great, and then it just completely falls flat the more you go in.
So let me ask you this question as well, and I'll ask this to the rest of the panel. If you were to try to show, would you recommend the comics to a non-Brony? What do you think, Master Code?
Well, okay, so talking about non-Brony, no knowledge of MLP.
Yep.
Probably not, just because the comics they came in around what was it, season 3, season 4, whatever. So they come in with a lot of established backstory. They come in from the series, so you kind of have to know at least the main characters and some of the main events happened in the first couple seasons. So probably wouldn't recommend to non-Brony, just because they would have to catch up and learn so much stuff.
All right.
I would show it to him, because I think My Little Pony is just so easy to understand. You show him season 10, show him older comics, you pick them up, and it's like, oh, it's a magical pony land where friendship is the basis of their magic, and all of these ponies have established relationships together. It's really easy to get into. So I would just be like, yeah, if you like magic fantasy, with a little bit of a lighthearted slice of life tone, you might like these comics, and the art looks really good. So I wouldn't be scared, because again, My Little Pony has never been super complicated. You're not handing them the Silmarillion and saying, hey, read this, having never watched or read Lord of the Rings before. It's so accessible, so therefore yes.
Angel, what do you think? Give us some closing thoughts, and would you recommend the pony comics to a non-Brony?
My closing thoughts are that for the most part, season 10 was handled well enough. And if I would recommend the comics to a non-Brony, probably not. I'm not too sure.
Angel, give me a number for season 10, a number rating from 0 to 10. Or from 1 to 10. What would you rate season 10?
Probably like 6 or 7.
Alrighty then.
Somewhere around there.
High average, okay. And DJ, what do you think?
I think season 10 is definitely worth a read, especially just for anyone that's enjoyed the show. I think it's a very good follow-up to season 9. Is it the best? No, but I do recommend it. However, to a non-Brony for the comics in general, probably not. I wouldn't recommend it. I would offer them to read the first story arc, the Chrysalis arc, and if they liked it, to keep going. But if they didn't, then I don't think it would be for them.
Alrighty then. And with that, I'm going to call it for tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you, Angel of Speed, for suggesting tonight's topic. Did you have fun tonight?
Yeah, I kind of did.
Good.
And you're welcome for accepting the suggestion.
Certainly. And Master Code, thank you for joining us tonight. Did you have fun?
Yes, and you say you only had kind of fun? Only kind of fun? You come on my live stream and you say you only had kind of fun? This is my Brony debate show, and I demand fun.
You know
Not to
what,
be had
man?
by all.
You know what, man? You can have it. Oh,
Does
man.
that mean we're all moving on to Mastercode's Patreon?
Yes, all of Brony's Patreons will now be my property, and send me money.
Ah, frick. I should have seen that one.
Heather
You
took over
didn't
it
think
months
this
ago
was
anyway.
Brony?
Heather is probably the biggest contributor. So
Yeah.
that's certainly...
Well, I was referring to the episode we did without you, where we declared that you were fired, and we run the show now.
Oh, yeah,
That's
that's
right.
right. I never did get rehired, so I'm just totally...
You're still fired.
Yeah.
This is illegal.
Hey, you're just a work for hire.
Yeah, I'm a freelancer.
So we're gonna have to file a lawsuit against Brawny for fraud.
We got to prove damages.
Oh,
Well,
man.
I'm pretty sure these videos count as damages.
I feel like Bill Finger over here. Okay,
A
so
lot of damages. That's at least 2, maybe 3 entire dollars.
all right. So I'm very grateful to all of my generous supporters on Patreon, especially those on the $10 and up tier. These are these two goofballs, Cordero and DJ, but there's also Princess Heather Blossom, Shady Oak Ministry, Sid McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Sodden Girder, Kyle Christensen, Stephen A. Wilson, Rein-Kun, Morningstar, QFlash, Billy Henline, Alden MacManx, and Dark Malcontent, author of the Metaverse series. Be sure to check out all their links in the description. They make some pretty good stuff themselves. Check out Mastercode if you haven't already. He makes some great videos. Hey, Mastercode, do you have anything else coming down the line we should look forward to?
Let's see. So the next MLP review that'll be next week. That one is issue number. Oh, actually, it's gonna be 28 pranks later, because originally it was supposed to come out on Halloween, but due to rendering issues, I couldn't get it out in time. So next one's gonna be 28 pranks later. Then the next one's gonna be 102. The last 2 comics of season 10, which are 101 and 102.
All right, so go subscribe to Mastercode and check out his stuff. If you would like to get on the show, I'd love to have you. Let's get you on the Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and then your topic suggestions become priority, and you can get on the show, and you can pick which games we play for Friday Night Fights. Now, if you'd like to hang out with us some more, then tomorrow night I'll be streaming with Princess Heather Blossom on her channel at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be on next Friday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the usual time there, for some Friday Night Fights. I don't know what we're playing yet, but usually people just come to watch me be really bad at video games and get roasted by my guests. So hopefully you enjoy
Play
that.
Phasmophobia.
That's certainly a suggestion. All right, so have a great night, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you all soon. Say goodnight, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Merry Christmas.
I'll take it.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Too soon.